He was a millionaire drowning in betrayal, until a homeless woman walked into his life and turned everything upside down. But when he took her to his ex-fiancée's wedding, what she did left the entire room speechless. Was she a savior, or hiding a secret of her own? Stay with us till the end to uncover a twist you'll never see coming, and a lesson you'll never forget. Before we begin this powerful story, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss a moment of our life-changing content. Like, comment, and share to help us reach more hearts around the world. This is not just entertainment. Every story carries a meaningful moral lesson designed to inspire, heal, and uplift. Let us grow together. Let us learn together. And let every story remind you, you are never alone. A millionaire took a homeless woman to his ex-fiancée's wedding, and what she did shocked everyone. I used to think money solved everything. I used to believe success was measured by the weight of a wristwatch, or the square footage of a penthouse. But nothing prepared me for the silence that comes after betrayal. I was a millionaire at 31. Investments, acquisitions, media attention. But none of that mattered. The day my fiancée walked out on me, she left with my business partner, the same man I pulled from bankruptcy. They said I was too busy for love, too obsessed with growth, too cold. I stopped arguing. I just stopped. For a year, I lived in a blur. I smiled in interviews. I signed deals with hands that trembled. I laughed at parties I could not wait to leave. But inside, I was tired. Of pretending. Of trusting. Of hoping. Then one rainy evening, I saw her. Outside a cafe window. Barefoot. Soaked. Hugging a torn coat. Like it held her together. She was asking for nothing. Not even pity. I stepped out. Offered her coffee. She refused at first. Her voice was soft but certain. I do not need charity. I need a chance. Something in her gaze was painfully familiar. That same exhaustion. That same fire, buried under ash. Her name was Eliana. She had once been a medical student. Dropped out after her mother's death. Lost her home to hospital bills. She was not broken. She was buried. I gave her a job. Nothing big. Just front desk work in one of my co-working spaces. But in weeks, she transformed the place. Everyone respected her. She listened more than she spoke. And when she did speak, even the arrogant took notes. She never asked about my past. She never judged the pain I carried like armor. One night, after working late, she found me staring at an invitation. An ornate, ivory envelope, gold embossed. My ex-fiancée's wedding. She glanced at it, then looked at me. You should go, she said. Not to prove anything to them, but to prove something to yourself. I laughed. Go with who? I deleted half my contacts last year. She smiled. Take me. I stared at her, unsure if she was serious. She was. I have nothing to lose, she added. And maybe you need someone who is not here for your money. I agreed. Half joking, half desperate to feel alive again. That night, she wore a simple navy dress, her hair tied back with grace. No diamonds, no glitter. But when she walked into that ballroom with me, all eyes turned, including theirs. My ex, and the man who stole everything. They walked over, smirking. Nice to see you finally found someone. Simpler, she said, her tone honeyed with poison. Eliana stepped forward. She took my hand, then looked my ex in the eye. I did not come here for champagne or approval, she said. But I will tell you something. She paused. You did not break him. You just freed him. To find someone who sees his soul, not his salary. The room went still. No one laughed. No one clapped. They just watched. As I realized, she was not saving me. She was reminding me who I had always been. Before the betrayal. Before the mask. Before the loneliness in luxury. And in that moment, everything shifted. Because sometimes, it takes someone who has lost everything to teach you what truly matters. And sometimes, the one person the world overlooks turns out to be the one who helps you rebuild it all. Not with wealth, but with wisdom, with warmth, with truth. We left the ballroom without saying another word. But I remember the look on their faces. Confusion, regret, a faint trace of fear. Like they had just watched the ending they never imagined. Outside, the night air was sharp. The city lights flickered in puddles beneath our feet. Eliana walked beside me silently, not expecting gratitude, not seeking validation. I glanced at her. Why did you say all that? I asked. You barely know what happened. She stopped. I did not need to know everything, she said. I saw the way you looked at them. Not with hatred, but with pain you never allowed yourself to feel. I swallowed hard. She was right. I had buried the hurt under layers of control. Contracts, public appearances, profit margins. But none of that ever held me like her words did. You reminded me, I said slowly, what it feels like to matter, without a price tag. She smiled. Not the kind that plays to cameras. The kind that reaches the soul. Soft, earnest, alive. That night, I offered to drive her home. She declined. I still sleep at the shelter, she said. Saving up for school again. I want to finish what I started. There was no shame in her voice. Only purpose. I handed her an envelope. A blank check. No strings attached. She looked at it, then handed it back. Help me earn it, she said. Give me real work. Responsibility. Let me build something I can own. That was the moment I understood. She was not here to be rescued. She was here to rise. And maybe, so was I. The next morning, I had her transferred to my foundation. We built a new wing for underprivileged students. She oversaw every detail. Hiring, budgeting, mentoring. She worked harder than anyone I knew. Some nights, I found her asleep on files. Glasses sliding down her nose. Notes scribbled in the margins with passion and urgency. And every time I tried to thank her, she redirected it. This is not about me, she said. This is about the hundreds of girls out there who feel invisible, who believe their dreams expired with their pain. But Eliana, she was the one rewriting my story. She taught me the value of presence over presence, of time over timing, and perhaps the hardest lesson of all, that you can fall apart and still rebuild yourself into something stronger. One morning, during a press conference, a journalist asked me, "What was the turning point in your life?" I paused and glanced at her across the room. She was helping a young girl fix her microphone, smiling, steady, completely unaware of the spotlight. I answered, "It was not a deal. It was not a breakthrough investment. It was a rainy night, a torn coat, and a woman who chose dignity over despair." But deep inside me, there was something changing. A question I had not allowed myself to ask. A feeling I had tried to silence beneath routine. Because love, true love, was no longer about grand gestures. It was showing up. It was sharing silence. It was healing in someone's presence, without ever needing to perform. And the more time I spent with her, the more I began to realize she was not just a chapter in my recovery. She was becoming the story itself. The way she moved through the world, quietly bold, unapologetically real. She reminded me of everything I had once buried, to fit into boardrooms and headlines. Every morning she arrived early, not to impress, but because she believed time was sacred. She greeted every security guard by name, shared lunch with interns, listened with her full presence, even when no one else did. And slowly, that changed me. I stopped barking at assistants, stopped checking emails at dinner, stopped measuring success in zeros. Because with her, I remembered what it meant to be seen, for who I was, not for what I owned. One evening, after a long community event, we sat in the back garden of the foundation. She had taken off her heels, feet in the grass, hair loosened by the wind. "You have built something incredible," I told her. She looked at me, eyes reflecting the amber glow of nearby lanterns. "You gave me the bricks," she said. "I just laid them with love." I reached for her hand, not out of romance, out of truth. "Eliana," I whispered, "you did not just build a program. You rebuilt me." She did not speak. She just squeezed my hand, firm, steady, like she knew I was still learning to believe in myself, without the applause. But deep down, I was scared. Scared to feel this much again. Scared that the one person who had never asked me to change was the one changing everything. So I did what I always did when emotions grew too real. I created distance, offered her a promotion, more responsibility, a bigger office on the other side of the city. She accepted with a quiet nod. But her eyes, they held something I did not want to see. Hurt. Not because of the opportunity, but because she knew. It was my way of pulling away, instead of pulling her closer. Weeks passed. She buried herself in work. I returned to old habits. Late nights, empty meetings, a loneliness that grew louder with every passing day. Until one afternoon, my assistant walked in with a small box. "No name," she said. "Just this note, for when you are ready to stop running." Inside was a photograph. Me and Eliana, sitting on the shelter steps. Months ago. She was laughing at something I had said. I was looking at her, like she was the only thing holding my world together. Because she was. And I had pushed her away, for fear of needing her too much. I drove to her new office that evening. No appointment, no speech prepared, just my truth. But when I arrived, her desk was cleared. Lights off. No trace of her. Only a folded piece of paper taped to the door. It read, "Do not chase what you fear. Face it. Feel it. Let it change you, before it is too late." My heart sank. She was gone. And for the first time in years, I realized I might have lost the one thing that had made me whole again. But I was not giving up. Not this time. Because some people are not meant to be part of your healing. They are the reason you begin healing at all. And now, it was my turn to fight for her, to find her, to finally say what I should have said, long before I let my fear decide. I spent the next 3 days retracing every memory, every street corner we had walked, every shelter she had stayed in, every clinic or library where she might have left a footprint. But she had disappeared, like a whisper carried off by wind.
My chest tightened.
Each time a lead turned into silence. But I refused to give in, because I had finally learned that when something is real, you do not let it vanish without a fight.
On the fourth morning,
I drove to the old shelter, the one she used to sleep outside, back before her name was printed on program banners. It was quiet, damp from the early rain. Children played in the corner yard, with paper kites and muddy shoes. An older woman stood by the gate, thin scarf wrapped tightly,
eyes sharp and kind.
"Looking for someone?" she asked. I hesitated, then showed her the photograph.
She nodded.
She was here 2 nights ago. Dropped off a bag of books for the kids. Said goodbye to the staff. Mentioned something about the mountains.
The mountains. Of course. A place she once told me.
She used to go with her mother. When the world became too loud.
Peace. Silence. Perspective.
I left the city that evening.
No phone. No driver.
Just me and the road. And the memory of her voice guiding me like a compass. As I climbed the winding trails, I kept thinking about how many times I had missed her signals. How often I had let pride speak louder than presence.
But not this time. Not again.
By dusk, I reached a small cabin on a hillside.
Simple. Wooden.
Smoke curling gently from the chimney.
I knocked once. Then waited. The door creaked open. And there she was.
Hair pulled back in a messy braid. Wearing a worn sweater and jeans.
Eyes surprised, but not unkind. "How did you find me?" she asked.
"I stopped running," I said softly, and started remembering.
She stepped aside.
Let me in without a word. The warmth of the fireplace met the chill in my chest. And for the first time in weeks,
I could breathe.
We sat on the floor, cross-legged. No words exchanged for a while. Just the sound of logs cracking, and 1,000 things said, in the silence between heartbeats. Finally, I spoke.
"You were right. I was afraid."
Afraid to need you. Afraid you would leave like everyone else. So I left first.
She stared at the flames, then whispered,
"I never asked you to need me. I just wanted you to be with me."
That truth hit harder
than any deal I had ever lost. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the same envelope she once returned to me.
But this time,
it did not hold a check. It held a letter.
My words, my story, my heart, poured onto paper.
The night I realized what she truly meant to me. She read it slowly. Tears welled in her eyes.
But she kept reading, line by line, word by word. When she finished, she looked up.
"I never wanted a perfect man," she said. "I wanted an honest one." And in that moment, I gave her the only thing I had left to offer.
My truth.
My apology.
My love. Because love, real love,
is not found in diamonds or declarations. It is found in the willingness
to return, to rebuild, to stay.
She placed her hand over mine, and for the first time since I met her, I did not feel like a man with everything to prove.
I felt like a man, finally home.
But outside that cabin, a storm was brewing, one that would test the very foundation of everything we had just begun to rebuild. The wind howled louder that night, not just outside, but within me. Because just as I was learning to hold peace, the past came knocking. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Dozens of missed calls, messages,
urgent emails.
I had ignored the world for Eliana. But now, the world was pounding on my door. My CFO had resigned.
The board was in panic.
A merger deal worth hundreds of millions was collapsing. All because an internal investigation had exposed
massive fraud
by the very partner who once stole my fiancée.
The media had caught wind.
Headlines screamed betrayal. Investors were pulling out. And all fingers were pointing at me. Eliana stood quietly as I read through the chaos. Her expression unreadable.
"You have to go back," she said finally. Her voice steady. I shook my head.
"I just found you again. I cannot leave."
She stepped closer,
held my gaze. "If you truly want to build something real with me, then you must first reclaim the part of you that let it all fall apart." Her words were not a challenge. They were a lifeline. So I packed my things, left her in the calm of the mountain wind, and returned to the city that had once crowned me king, and now waited to crucify me. The press swarmed the building. My face flashed across screens. Phrases like fraud, failure, unfit to lead, hung heavy in the air.
But I stood tall.
Not because I was unafraid, but because I was finally ready to face everything I once ran from. At the emergency board meeting, I walked in alone. No lawyers, no spin doctors, just truth. "I trusted the wrong people," I began. "My silence made me complicit."
But not anymore.
I laid everything bare.
The shady contracts,
the overlooked audits, the emotional blindness that made me easy to deceive.
Gasps echoed. Some faces hardened, others softened.
But none of it mattered. Because for the first time in years, I was not speaking to protect a title. I was speaking to protect my integrity.
The board was stunned. Then, a voice spoke. Clear, calm, resolute. It was her, Eliana,
standing at the doorway,
folder in hand.
"I believe you might need this," she said. She had found the missing piece. Evidence of forged signatures,
leaked emails,
the very data the investigators had missed.
The room erupted. Lawyers rushed forward.
Cameras clicked behind frosted glass. But I saw only her. She did not come to save me.
She came
to remind me who I really was when I stopped hiding. And just like that, the narrative shifted. Accusations turned into applause. Doubt turned into fire. I spent the next week clearing the rot from within. Fired the corrupt. Hired the overlooked. Elevated the voices that had been silenced. And in the middle of it all,
I carved out space for her. A seat at the table.
Not because she was mine, but because she had earned it. With brilliance, with bravery, with boundless belief in what we could be. But even as the world began to praise again, something inside me whispered, "This is only the beginning." Because the higher you rise in truth, the more shadows try to pull you back. And one of those shadows was waiting in the most unexpected place. It began with a letter,
handwritten, no return address,
slipped under my office door late one evening, when the building was nearly empty. The handwriting was familiar,
too familiar.
I unfolded the paper slowly, and as my eyes scanned the first few lines, my heart clenched in disbelief.
It was from her,
my ex-fiancée, the one who vanished with my business partner, the one I had spent years trying to forget. "I was wrong," she wrote, "but it is not just guilt that brings me to write you now. There is something you need to know, something your new partner may not have told you." I stopped reading. Every instinct told me to tear the letter in half,
To burn it.
to let the past rot where it belonged. But curiosity is a cruel master.
I read on.
Eliana and I were not strangers. My throat went dry. Years ago, we crossed paths in a way you would never have imagined. And what she never told you could destroy everything you are building together. I felt the blood rush to my ears.
Every muscle in my body tensed.
She was lying,
Twisting facts.
trying to regain power through doubt.
And yet, the seed was planted.
I took the letter home, stared at it all night, the words echoing in my head like whispers I could not silence. By morning, I had decided.
I would not ask Eliana. Not yet.
Instead, I began searching.
Quietly. Discreetly.
Old records,
Names. Articles. Places.
and there, buried in a hospital archive from nearly a decade ago,
I found it. A name. A witness. A case file.
Eliana's mother had once worked for a private medical firm, the same one my ex-fiancée's father had owned. There had been a scandal,
A patient's death. A cover-up.
and Eliana's mother had been the whistleblower. She lost everything,
Her job.
her savings,
Her home.
and died of a stroke 3 years later.
Alone.
Suddenly, the picture shifted. Eliana had never just been a coincidence. She had walked into my world, carrying the weight of a story she never wanted to use against me.
A story.
She chose not to weaponize, even when she could have. But now the question was not about her past. It was about my present. Why had she stayed silent? And why had she risked everything
To protect me.
when she had every reason?
To destroy me.
The next evening, I returned to the cabin in the mountains. She was on the porch, wrapped in a sweater, looking at the stars, as if they held answers the world below never could. She looked up as I approached, saw the letter in my hand. She said nothing. I sat beside her, held it out. I read it, I whispered. All of it.
She nodded. No fear. No panic. Just pain.
I was not ready to tell you, she said. Not because I wanted to hide, but because I wanted to be seen.
For who I am now.
Not the girl from a tragedy. I searched her face for anything false. Found nothing but truth. You should have told me, I said.
I know, she replied.
But you had already been betrayed once. I could not bear the thought of becoming just another secret. That shattered your trust. Silence settled between us.
Heavy.
Sacred. Then I asked the one question that had haunted me most. Was meeting me a plan?
She turned to me, eyes wide, voice trembling.
I swear to you, I had no idea who you were. That night in the rain, I just needed a job, not revenge.
I believed her.
Not because I wanted to, but because the woman beside me, the woman who had never once asked for anything, except the chance to rise, could not lie to save herself. She never played the game. She walked through it.
With grace.
But before I could speak, before I could tell her that none of it changed what I felt,
Her phone buzzed.
one message, one line. Her face went pale. What is it?
I asked.
She turned the screen toward me. It was from an unknown number. You chose the wrong side. Now everything burns.
My heart dropped. Because I knew.
This was not about history anymore. It was about war.
And someone
Someone still hiding in the shadows.
was ready. to destroy us both.
The next few days moved like a storm.
Anonymous threats, leaked documents,
False accusations spreading through media faster than we could contain them. They hacked our systems,
froze accounts,
pulled investors into chaos.
but we did not bend, and we did not hide.
Eliana stood beside me, every step of the way. Not behind me, not beneath me, beside me. Together, we confronted everything. We opened every file, faced every headline, called every board member one by one,
and told the truth,
even when it shook the ground beneath us.
Eventually,
light broke through the smoke. One of the internal security team traced the cyber attacks
to a private network
owned by my former business partner, the same man who had once taken everything from me. He was arrested 2 days later. Turns out, he had been embezzling for years. My ex-fiancée was named as a silent partner. Their empire crumbled overnight. And for the first time in a long time, the world stopped spinning so violently. I stood before the board once more,
not to plead, but to resign.
My journey here has taught me everything I never learned in school, I said. It taught me that power without purpose is poison. That silence, when truth is needed, is betrayal. And that success is not what you build. It is who you lift with you. I handed over the reins to the next generation. Younger leaders mentored by Eliana. Leaders who had known hunger,
known rejection,
and chose kindness anyway.
As for me,
I walked away from the glass towers, from red carpets and spotlights,
and began a new life with her.
Eliana and I started a foundation together for women who had lost everything, for students who were never seen, for dreamers who just needed a bridge.
We built shelters, funded education,
opened clinics in rural villages,
not to be celebrated, but to heal.
Each morning, I wake up beside her, grateful for the rain that brought her into my life, grateful for the fire that nearly consumed me, because it revealed the truth that stayed. She never wore expensive jewelry, never asked for a title, but in every room,
she was the light.
I once thought the greatest achievement of my life was my first million,
but I was wrong.
The greatest achievement was learning how to love with open hands, how to lead with a humble heart, and how to listen to the quiet wisdom of someone who carried the storm and still chose to be the calm. Moral of the story: never measure a person by what they wear
or what they own,
but by what they rise from and how they carry others with them. Sometimes, the person you least expect will be the one who saves your life, not by changing your world, but by teaching you how to change it yourself. There is always a way forward, and sometimes, love is the light that leads it. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, share it, comment below, and let someone know. You are never alone.